What if Kurt Cobain became a rapper? It's hard to imagine Kurt Cobain outside the grunge scene. He was the face of Nirvana, the voice of a generation, and an artist who rejected the very idea of stardom. But what if, in some parallel universe, Kurt Cobain wasn't the pioneer of grunge but instead found his voice in hip-hop? What if Kurt Cobain became a rapper? To understand this, we have to look beyond genres. Cobain's genius wasn't tied to distorted guitars or flannel shirts. It was in his raw authenticity. He had this uncanny ability to take the messiest parts of his life, addiction, depression, the pressure of fame, and turn them into art that felt brutally honest. That's what made him a legend. And that's what would have made him a force in hip-hop. Imagine Kurt in the early 90s, not as a grunge icon but as an outsider in the rap world. Instead of wielding a guitar, he's in a studio, pouring his soul into lyrics over dark, brooding beats. His delivery wouldn't be flashy or polished, it would be raw and vulnerable. The kind that hits you in the chest. Think about the kind of tracks he could have made, weaving his struggles with fame, addiction, and self-doubt into haunting verses. Cobain would have been the kind of rapper who didn't care about trends. He wouldn't chase radio hits or club anthems. He'd rap about the things most people are too afraid to say. His music would feel less like entertainment and more like therapy for him and for everyone who listened. You can almost hear it. Stripped-down beats with minimalist production, maybe even live instrumentation. Tracks where he talks about feeling trapped in his own head, about his disdain for the music industry, about the pain of trying to stay true to yourself in a world that constantly tries to mold you. His sound would be experimental, unorthodox, and deeply personal. And the impact, it would have been massive, because just like in grunge, Kurt's honesty would have been a revelation in hip-hop. He wouldn't fit neatly into any box, too raw for the mainstream, too poetic to ignore. He would resonate with the outcasts, the misfits, the ones who felt like they didn't belong anywhere. But here's the catch. The same things that made Kurt Cobain great would have made his journey in hip-hop just as turbulent. He wasn't built for fame. He hated being idolized, hated the way the spotlight distorted everything he stood for. In a genre like hip-hop, where image and status often dominate, Kurt's refusal to play the game would have set him apart, but it also might have isolated him. And then there's the question of legacy. Would the world have embraced him the same way it did as the frontman of Nirvana? Would his refusal to conform have made him a cult hero or a misunderstood outsider? It's impossible to know for sure, but what we do know is this. Kurt Cobain's story isn't just about grunge or rock music. It's about an artist who used his pain to create something timeless, who spoke for people who felt voiceless, who showed us that imperfection can be beautiful. If Kurt Cobain had become a rapper, his impact would have been the same. Because at his core, Kurt wasn't defined by his genre. He was defined by his humanity, and that's something that transcends music, whether it's grunge, rap, or anything in between. In the end, Kurt Cobain didn't need a genre to change the world. He just needed a microphone, and no matter where that microphone would have taken him, his voice would have echoed forever.